ask leave of the Federation Chamber to move amendments 1, 11, 13 and 14 as circulated in my name together.
Is leave granted? Thank you. Member for Wentworth.
I move amendments 1, 11, 13 and 14 as circulated in my name. Deputy Speaker, I'm extremely proud of the diversity of my community in Wentworth. We are an electorate that values tolerance above all, acknowledging that Australia's diversity is our greatest strength. But in recent weeks and months, my community's sense of safety and security has been very, very much undermined, and this has been an absolutely terrible time for the Jewish community. And so this is why I'm standing here today in the chamber. Now, I support this bill. I've been very clear from the start that I support this bill, and frankly, I've been pushing for this bill to come before the House, last year. But I believe that this bill does not go far enough, and this is why I have moved these amendments. And let me tell you why. When I talk to, I'll start with the Jewish community, then I'll talk about other communities. But let me start with the Jewish community. Since October 7, my Jewish community has been subject to horrendous anti-Semitism. There's always been anti-Semitism. It was a concern of mine before October 7, but since that date it has been absolutely horrendous. And some of the anti-Semitism that they have most feared has been the expression, and this is in some cases some preachers who are preaching hate against the Jews. One of the examples that has most struck fear into my community is that where some people have literally preached online sermons which has called for the final solution of the Jews in line with Hitler's. I mean, we all know what the final solution stands for. It refers to Hitler's final solution on the Jews. This happened in this country, and my community rightly came to me and said, what is happening in this country? Why is this possible? Surely this is illegal, and the truth is it isn't. We also had people who called in similar sermons, called Jews as a whole bloodthirsty, criminals, the sort of expressions that are so incendiary and so undermining of a sense of safety. And so this was at the start of since October 7. This was in the early days. Now, since then, we have all seen on the news, and I have lived through it in my community, the devastation of anti-Semitism. The houses of former members of the Jewish community, former houses of members of the Jewish community sprayed with cars, arsoned in front of it. This is intentionally intimidating my community. Childcare centre, schools, an arson attack on a synagogue. This is what is happening to my Jewish community, but it did start, and it has always started with words. And my concern of what, the laudable aims of this legislation is that it has not got to the starting point, which is the words. As Mike Burgess from ASIO has said, words matter. Yesterday I was very proud that the whole of the parliament united against anti-Semitism because our words matter. But our actions also matter, and we as legislators have the opportunity to do something about this, to start to make sure that those words, those most incendiary words, have a break, have a handrail. Now, I was really disappointed when the government initially said they were going to consider hate speech in its initial, and it did, as I understand it, in its initial drafting of this bill, and then removed it again for later. And that is why I've introduced these amendments. These are based, I know there's been a lot of discussion on free speech. These are based on existing laws in WA. So for those people who have, I think, really legitimate concerns about restrictions on free speech, WA has had this sort of legislation for 21 years. It has not been used to quell free speech. What it has been used to do is quell hate speech, speech that is deliberately and intentionally there to promote hatred in our community. And in one of the most diverse countries on earth, and one of the most and I believe the most successfully diverse country on earth, we do need to have guardrails on people who are promoting and deliberately promoting hate, deliberately promoting division. So I have put forward these amendments. The government has told me that they are not going to support them. I find that really disappointing. I believe I've not had an indication yet from the coalition whether they would support them. But my concern, my view is, honestly, I can see that the major parties are working together on this legislation. My feeling is that had the coalition decided to support these, the government would have supported this, or vice versa, it would have happened. But I think this has, you know, the words I get from my community time and time again is like, words are great, I want action. They wanted action on this legislation. It had support of ECAJ, and then, you know, and I'm desperately sad that this has not happened. I'd like to speak in continuum. Is that possible? Sorry.